Like, I don't trust them if they're not Jewish and are writing about the Messiah. Like,
Say it a little louder.
murder is not absolutely wrong. My God offers that too, but he's not Jesus.
Cliffe debates a Jewish student who challenges the idea of moral absolutes, arguing that murder isn't always absolutely wrong based on his Jewish faith. Together, they explore the foundations of morality and if Jesus is the Jewish Messiah, which perspective resonates with you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Credit to give me an answer. Now let's dive in.
Okay, how do you have a moral law without a mind?
I just know that I'm Jewish and my rabbi will tell me that there are not moral absolutes. So my rabbi tells me that. Well,
You bet. And lots of Protestant ministers say that morality is relative because they don't believe there's a supernatural God, and many of them are my friends. I'm totally aware. But at least they're consistent intellectually, as opposed to you.
no, my
At least they're saying, there is no supernatural God, and therefore morality is relative. Fine, that's intellectually consistent.
I'm just saying it's possible to form a system of morals without a supernatural being.
Well, of course, a system of morals, of course.
Well,
But you've got to acknowledge that system of morals is relative,
It's fine.
right?
I mean, outside of the big ones, like it is possible to say murder is wrong without needing God to tell you it is.
Well, of course I can say, buddy, to murder him is wrong.
So wait,
But if I look him
hold
in
on.
the face and say, murder is absolutely wrong, who defines the absolute?
It's not absolutely
Culture,
wrong, though.
individual, the people in power? Well, then it's relative. But if there is a God who creates him with innate value, and he creates this intangible value called justice, then it's possible that for him to murder him is absolutely, not relatively, but absolutely wrong. You cannot have a moral absolute without there being some type of God. Meaning by that, some type of mind prior to the human mind that defines right and wrong.
Murder isn't absolutely wrong, Joe.
Say it a little louder.
Murder is not absolutely wrong.
Thank you. That's consistent from where he's coming from. Because there is no God, murder is not absolutely wrong. You're right.
No, I'm talking from the Talmud, the Torahtical laws. Like, these are, like, Jewish things we hold important. Are you saying that Jews don't believe in God, or... Because I would disagree with you.
Obviously, the majority of Jews believe in God. But I've got a lot of Reformed Jewish friends who do not believe in God. Obviously, there are many Jews who are atheists. And that's fine. That's their choice.
Are you calling me an atheist?
No, I'm not calling you anything.
Because I'm not.
You asked me, what do Jews believe? And I'm telling you, Jews believe there is a God. Many do. And many other Jews, many of my friends who are Reformed Jews, believe there's no God. I don't know what you believe. What do you believe?
I believe there's a God, but I don't believe in moral absolute.
Okay, why don't you believe in moral absolutes?
Because it's situational, you know? Like a Christian friend of mine would say that abortion is absolutely wrong no matter what, but if it's threatening the life of the mother, it's not wrong.
Good.
That's not a moral absolute. Or if someone is trying to hurt another Jew, I'm allowed to do all I can, including murder that person, to stop them from doing it.
Oh, all right, then we got to start clarifying a little bit. If I go up to this guy, take out a knife and stab him to death, why? Because I think the guys with yellow wristbands should be murdered. That's murder. But if he and I walk into McDonald's and this guy is spraying machine gun bullets into children's bodies, and if I hit the guy high and he hits him low, we break his neck in the process and kill him, sir, that is not murder. That is killing motivated by a drive to preserve the innocent from being slaughtered. When Dietrich Bonhoeffer tried to assassinate Adolf Hitler, that was not murder. That was due to his drive to protect the innocent Jewish people from being slaughtered. He tried to stop Hitler physically. That's killing. There is an ethical difference. And you're right, it gets gray. I agree with you. But I can promise you, sir, child abuse, slaughtering innocent children is never good. The rape of a woman is never good. Those are examples of moral absolutes. The Holocaust is never good. It's absolutely evil. Racism, be it apartheid, be it racism in the United States, as shown in slavery, is never, ever good. Those are moral absolutes.
I agree.
Okay, well, guess what? The only way there can be a moral absolute is if there is some type of God to create and define those moral absolutes. Otherwise, it's all relative. Does that make no sense?
Well, I don't know, sure, but I have a lot of atheist friends, and some of them are more moral than I am.
Sure.
So,
Sure, all of my atheist friends are wonderful people. They're all idealists and altruists. All of my atheist friends are wonderful people. I don't have one rotten atheist friend, okay? But they're in a real bind intellectually when they hold to these morals so adamantly, but deny God's existence. Because one of the greatest pieces of evidence that God exists are moral absolutes that every single one of us holds to. See, it's impossible to live out moral relativism. Think about it. It is impossible to consistently live out moral relativism. Why? Think about whatever it is you believe about racism, the Holocaust, abortion, homosexuality, right? Think about your position. Now, whatever your position is, and I obviously don't know, but whatever it is, if you're a moral relativist, you have to agree that the opposite of what you believe is just as valid. You can't live that way. You cannot live that way. You cannot live as if gay bashing is good. You cannot live as if apartheid is good. Instead, you attach absolute moral significance, don't you? So you can't live out moral relativism. It's impossible.
You can understand it within the context of cultural particularity, where you don't necessarily have to agree with the opposite, but you can understand that there is the possibility of a different system of thought that would support a particular position that you may not agree with.
Sure. Not only that, but I, as a follower of Christ, have no option but to love and respect a human being who kidnaps, rapes little boys, and murders them and buries them. Because I, as a follower of Christ, understand that all human beings have innate value and dignity, and Christ commands me to love all people, including my enemies. So you're right. I will look into the face of the kidnapper, the guy who rapes, and say, I love you and respect you as a human being, but I'm convinced that what you did was absolutely wrong. But guess what? I view myself the same way. I affirm my value as a human being because I'm created in the image of God, but I deplore my wrongdoing. I have done absolute evil. That is why I need Jesus Christ. That's why I need his forgiveness. He bled and died on a cross to forgive me, to reconcile me to God, to give me eternal life. Why would I look in the face of a gift horse like that and say no thanks?
am I a bad person because I don't believe in Jesus?
No, you're not a bad person because you don't believe in Jesus. You're a bad person like I'm a bad person because we both have rebelled against God. We both have sinned. I'm a dirty, rotten sinner, and so are you. What does that mean? It means instead of loving people, we've been selfish. Instead of caring for people, we've been apathetic. Instead of honoring God, we've dishonored God. Instead of respecting people, we've been disrespectful. So I'm not this great person that I wish you would believe that I am. I am in desperate need of God's help. That's what Jesus Christ offers me. Don't you find yourself in the same boat?
My God offers that too, but he's not Jesus.
Okay, good. So who's the God you believe in?
I believe it's the same as you, but we don't involve the Trinity. God is one. It says that in the Old Testament, so it goes against our central beliefs to believe that there's more than one God.
Right, but Jesus repeated the Shema of Israel, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Right, so Jesus was a strict monotheist.
But then he was accepting that he wasn't God by saying that.
No, he went on and claimed that he was this one God revealing himself in finite human form. So now, do you think the evidence is that a Jewish man named Jesus is reliable?
I don't believe that.
Okay, why?
Why
do you find it so difficult to trust Jesus Christ?
Because no modern historian recorded it except the New Testament. How am I supposed to believe that? Some of the apostles weren't even Jews. Like, I don't trust them if they're not Jewish and they're writing about the Messiah. Like,
You gotta be kidding me. The first reason you told me you can't believe in Jesus is because no modern historian writes about him?
yeah.
Well, you know, sir, if we did have a modern historian writing about Jesus, then we really would have a problem. Because that historian would not be an eyewitness.
No, I mean like during that time, as historian during that time, the only one they have account of is Josephus Flavius.
Yeah.
And they proved 300 years after they found that in the history of Josephus Flavius that it was inserted by Christian.
No, they
It
did
wasn't
not.
actually written by wasn't written by Josephus Flavius.
Antiquities 18.3.3, Josephus clearly writes about Jesus as being an historical person. Now, the question is, when he writes about the resurrection of Christ, is that an addition to the text or not? It might be. But to argue that Flavius Josephus never wrote about Jesus Christ as an historical person is intellectually dishonest. That's
But not
true.
that he was the Christ. He mentioned a man named Jesus, but he did not say he was the Christ. So, but he also was Jewish, so he stuck to his values and accepted there was only one God, not Jesus.
Yeah, well, I worship a Jew. Jesus was a Jew. So faith in Jesus is not anti-Semitic.
It's like a cop-out to say he'll come again, because nowhere in the Old Testament said that the Messiah would come twice.
Where does
That
the Old
it was
Testament say he's
once.
only going to come once? Where does the Old Testament say Messiah will only come once?
That's what my Talmud tells me. It's
No,
not
it's
in
not.
your. Well, you don't believe in the Talmud because you're not Jewish, so you wouldn't know it's in our Bible.
The Torah does not teach that the Messiah is only going to come once. It doesn't answer the question, how many times is Messiah going to come? You can't make an argument from silence. It's intellectually dishonest. The Torah never says Messiah is only coming once. The Torah never says he's coming twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. It does not answer the question. You cannot make an argument from silence.
Then why are you making the argument he'll come twice if you don't have any proof?
Well, no, because that's what he claimed. Jesus claimed he was going to come a second time. Now, the obvious question is, why should I trust Jesus to give me any type of truth?
He's a human being. I wouldn't trust him.
You don't trust people?
Not usually, no.
You check your roommates. Do you check your roommates' pockets to make sure there is no gun or knife in them before you fall asleep at night?
No.
Well, then you trust.
I don't trust them to keep secrets, though.
Do you bring your chemistry kit to the breakfast table, the lunch table, the dinner table to make sure there's no arsenic in your food?
No.
So you trust cooks, don't you?
It's blind trust, though. It's something I don't think about.
Really? You think Ohio State University hires crooks for cooks?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that.
Come on, bud, think with me. You have faith. All of us have faith. All of us trust. The question is, whoever or whatever you trust, is it reliable and trustworthy or not? You know very well, if you get sick, you're not going to go out and have a street person operate on you. You're going to get the most highly trained surgeon who understands the order and design of the human body to operate on you.
If I can afford it.
Yeah.
If I can afford it, but most people can't.
You don't blindly trust anybody. You demand evidence of trustworthiness, and then you trust. All right. The reason that I trust Jesus Christ is because he lived the type of life that in my best moments, I've tried to live, and I have failed miserably. What about the whole teaching that without the shedding of blood, there's no atonement for sin? All the Jewish people taking the lambs and slitting their throats so the blood would flow. I mean, I hope you don't think that that was just some barbaric ritual.
No, of course not.
Good. So the wages of sin is death. So Christ claims to be the Lamb of God, laying down his life to make atonement for sin. And you as a good Jew understand the importance of atonement.
Okay.
So Christ claims to be laying down his life, shedding his blood, taking the penal, on as a penal substitute, the just penalty for my wrongdoing.